Welcome to Team Athena's first group Skype chat thing. Just before Leipzig regionals, we're just going to have a general discussion about what we think the plays are, what could be good, what's not going to be so good. Discussion. Start with the introduction themselves. Alex. I do event.
Thanks.
If you're not afraid yet, be very afraid.
I guess I'll go next then. My name's Tubbs, or Toby Wilner if you want to use my real name. I've been playing for 12 years, and I am currently on 279 points.
Hell, I'm Simon Smith. I'm going next. I've never won a CP point in my life. These guys let me in the team, don't know why, but I like to be here for moral support anyway.
No, it's banter.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
There we go. Third time lucky.
That was you, Darren, next.
Yeah.
Before
Your
you-
intro.
Before I drop off again. Is it? Stupid internet.
So who are you?
Oh, is it me? Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah, Darren, another guy, member of the team. What were you actually saying? I missed everyone's intro, so I've got no idea what you're saying about each
Just say
other.
who you are. Are you a poker dad or are you a poker mum? What do you do?
I'm a Pokemon, obviously. Never assume my gender, Tubbs.
I didn't.
Yeah, so Poker Dad, like Simon. Got 3 kids that are playing as well. Junior and 2 seniors, so it's me.
Humphreys? Yeah, sure, let's go for it. I'm Simon Humphrey. I've been playing since the game came out, 20 years ago, 19 years ago, however long it was.
Nice.
3-2-2 CP this year. Something like that.
Very good. Your first world invite?
Yeah, first World invite ever. Which is more disappointing given how long we've been playing, but oh well.
No bad. Suppose I'll go next. I'm Tom. Salutations. CP pass. Been playing for a long time. I don't actually have a clue. Probably since about Plasma Freeze, I think. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
And I just tend to play meme decks. Again, I don't know why I'm allowed here. I don't really.
Did you say meme decks or theme decks, mate?
Meme decks.
What's the
Theme
difference?
decks are probably win.
Theme decks, yeah.
He'd be more successful with themed decks, I think.
Yeah, probably would. The one time
He's got more CP than me.
I don't think so. I don't actually think I have any this season. Let's have a look.
I checked mine earlier on. I'm on 135, so I'm halfway to invite, so I'm happy.
Good show.
Living on a prayer, mate.
Mate, you think your family's going to have 4 at Worlds? That's got to
It's
be
impressive.
That has got to be impressive.
I'm banking on at least Megan getting a top 22 finish. I haven't got to pay for 5 of us to go to Nashville.
Yeah.
The thing is, if all 3 of them get the top 22,
Top 22.
it's all you get 3 adults paid for.
There you go, mate.
Exactly. My mother has already claimed that 3rd space. Now, I think Megan's like 23rd or 24th in juniors. She's
Very
only like
close.
so we're taking it to Malmo. Hopefully she might get something there, and possibly Stuttgart. So we'll see. The boys are like 30th and 31st or something like that. So again, I think if any, they're fine with the cups. They're doing, they're getting max points in cups and stuff. I think they just need to hit a points finish at one of the regionals.
Yeah,
and they should do it. Megan bubbled in Daytona, 18th, and same with Ryan. So they're both knocking on the door for a points finish at a regional. So it's close. We'll see.
So, Pike, why have you called us here?
Let's just wait for Goodson to get his phones back in.
My apologies, I was summoned.
I
didn't want to shout on the phone.
Next weekend. So it's interesting to see what people's thoughts are around the decks to play, the decks to avoid, what they think will be big, what they'll think will be a misplay. Who's going out of interest? I'm not.
I tell you what, I can tell you now with the will be the misplay is whatever I'm playing in Leipzig.
So Darren's going.
The misplay will be whatever I decide to take.
So me, Darren, Simon, Freddie,
And Freddie.
Seb, I believe.
Scott and Seb.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
6.
There's
1,
6
2,
of us
3,
going, yeah.
5, 6, yeah.
6 of us. I reckon the good play will be Volcanion. It's a tough deck to beat. It's fast. It's difficult to play against.
Yeah, do you know what? I agree with you there. I think Volk's one of the big ones to look out for.
Yeah.
It hurts Zoroark, Lycanroc. It hurts Zoroark and Golisopod in particular with the weakness on Golisopod.
Yeah.
It really renders your Golisopod ineffective. You only get one shot at your Golisopod. You really need to use your GX attack to win the game against a Volcanion if you can keep it on your bench that long. We've been testing that a lot. I've been playing Volcanion for the last couple of weeks, and I can beat Freddy on his like Zoroark Golisopod deck pretty much every time playing Volcanion. He just can't keep up.
I think the thing with Volcanion is the same with a couple of other decks. Is me and Tubbs has talked about this a bit when we've been doing testing, and a lot of the meta decks now, they're 2-shot decks. And if you can actually take a one-shot, if you can actually one-shot them with a Volcanion or a Bulu or whatever it is, actually can one-shot 210, and you can keep it going consistently, then you tend to do quite well against the meta decks. It's getting them taking that one shot consistently, like getting a turn 2 Vikavolt up in Bulu.
Yeah,
if you can
absolutely.
do it, and your Bulu's lit, then. But it's one of the reasons why I stopped playing Bulu, because I got sick and tired of shooting myself in the face when I'm twice now at regionals. I've been close to day 2, and Bulu's bricked in the last couple of rounds, and it's not misplays or bad plays which makes a change for me. It's just that inconsistency of getting that turn 2 Vikavolt out, which is
basically what Tor did in London. Is he knew that like Gardy, Bulu, even Silvally were all like big one-shot decks, but they were all inconsistent. So he made a consistent deck with Zoroark Golisopod, which 2-shot things, and it rose straight to the top.
Yeah.
So now it's now we're going back to a 2-shot format. It's now who can get the best one-shot deck going, and it just keeps flipping like that.
Which is why that 210 number is the most important, because no matter what you're going through, 210 is going to be that magic stage 1.
So let's face it,
Exact what you want to hit.
Zoroark GX is the biggest card at the moment. So if you can hit 210 to one-shot it consistently, that's what you need every time.
If you could beat Zoroark, you're going to do very well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Volcanion can do that quite effectively with Choice Band and 2 Steam Ups.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I was surprised Pablo didn't win the last standard regional with Bud Lycanroc, because he's consistently hitting that. So I think, if I remember rightly, he pretty much dead drew the last couple of games.
He did,
which cost him.
Yeah,
that deck was built to just walk through Zoroark.
It's like 160 plus the Choice Band plus Strong Energy. That's 210.
So 210, yeah.
And you got the Lycanroc, which for 2 energy is pretty much one shot in a. If you use the GX for two energies, you're going to take a Zoroark down quite probably, and then you just got a third attach for constantly one shot in the Zoroarks as well for 110, isn't it? Yeah, 110 native, and then you can stick strong energy and bands on there as well. So, and you're hitting it for weakness, so you're consistently knocking the Zoroarks out.
There's quite a nice counter to that though, which is the Baby Mew, of course, or the Baby Mewtwo, I should say, which will hit Buzzwell for weakness.
It is a pain. From playing it in Worcester the other week I played against a couple of Tords lists, and I drew with both of them playing Buzz Lycanroc, and you just have to waste the GX. If they drop the Mewtwo, you just have to waste the GX from the Buzz and just take it out with that, or try and go at them with the Lycanroc and not put the Buzzwell active, and try and use the Lycanroc as the main attacker, because they're not hitting that for weakness. But you're hitting the Zoroark for weakness. So that seemed to be the best way of doing it, is just charge a Buzzwole if you can and take out the Mew, or go at them with the Lycanroc. One of the guys I was playing against, I drew with, he had that blinking Psychic Latios in there as well as the Mew, so it was like double whammy.
Yeah.
You take the Mew out and then you drop the Latios down and put a band on it in DC, and that's 120. I thought, for God's sake, I'm going to have to do it all over again now. So But I drew with both of them, so it's a really, really hard matchup. But it's not. You just got to be careful what you target and how you target stuff.
Just going back to the one-shot thing, you know how we said about like two-shot going into one-shot stuff? Why do you guys think that Miller's come back recently? Because it doesn't do either.
No, but it doesn't get one shot either.
Yeah.
So it's the ability to go tank a hit, switch out, pick it up, heal it, do whatever, and just sit there and just go, I'm not going to be moved, the unstoppable force as a per se. Just go, I'm not going to move, and you're just going to waste all your resources.
Do you think it's because the big one-shot decks play a lot of energy? So you're thinking like your Guardies, your Volcanians, stuff like that?
I think some of them are like a lot of the mill decks are just playing masses of the baby hoopers. You can't even attack them with the big cards. So you got to start thinking, oh crikey, I've got to grab them with a basic, a non-GX, non-EX card. And most of the meta decks don't play it, which is one of the reasons when I first picked up Pram's list, I dropped one of his 4 Zoroark GXs and put a baby in for that exact reason. Because if you actually look at his list, there was no way to go through the Hooper stall decks because there was no basic counts other than going at it with a Rock Ruff, which you can do, but it's a right ball ache, right? To go through Hooper after Hooper with a Rock Ruff with 2 energy attacks on it.
I suppose the other issue is that people are playing like one out of Baby Hooper, which means if you prize it, which can happen, 10% of the time,
But you'll find a lot of the list also playing Gladian, so it is relatively easy to find.
Yeah. And or puzzles to get them from the discard if they have to kill it or discard it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just with more resources which isn't playing into Mill's hands, which is like, they want you to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, just something interesting I've just spotted. I've just found there's an ARG in Richmond, the Circuit Series, and I've just got the top 8s here. Second is Wishy Washy Mill.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So, which is kind of interesting.
Well, didn't one of the Slowpoke guys top 8 a cup the other day with it?
Benji did.
Benji top 8. Was he just top 8 in the end? Was it, or did he top 4? I can't remember now.
I think definitely top 8. I can't think.
I don't want to do the guy disservice. I don't know how. I can't remember if he top 4'd it or not in the end. I can't remember, but no. He won a league challenge with it as well, didn't he? Previous to that, I think. So it is becoming more prevalent.
So how, if anyway, how are you going to counter these mill decks? If you're playing, think of a one-shot deck like Buzz, Roll, Lycanroc, for example. How do you counter mill? Not just Hooper Stall, but like, so let's for example say Sylveon. How do you counter that sort of deck?
I guess for me, you just have to slow down the way you play. When I played against it when I was playing Bulu, I would attach to the bench. I just won't attach to the active. I'd wait until I've got a fully charged Bulu on the bench, and then just because of Flare Grunt, And you know what? They're going to play hammers, but that's 50-50. I'd rather not let them hit a hammer and a Flare Grunt, so I'd rather charge the bench. And then you switch out with stones, switches, escape ropes, Guzmas, whatever it is, and start swinging with the fully loaded Pokemon. That seems to be the way of doing it. You just have to. It's difficult for me because, as you know, I'm quite aggressive. I mean, it's like a shit or bust every time. So it's a bit annoying, but it's the only way to do it.
I quite like to hear Alex's take on this because he's really good at playing against mill decks. Like you constantly got the number of cards in your deck in your head, and I just can't do it. So how would you give advice for someone like me that cannot beat mill decks? How would you go against?
I think the trouble is you've. So cause I used to play a lot of mill decks, and with Toad, whatever the thing was, Toad Slurpuff, it's about resource management, which is essentially what playing against mill decks is. And your tactics going to vary on what deck you're playing and what you can expect to see in their mill deck. Like if they're going to play Skull Grunts, you need to keep that energy out of your hand. Do you attach it? Where do you attach it? Do you try and end it back in? What exactly do you do with it? Because generally, the right idea is stick your energy on your bench because it's harder for them to get rid of. And it's how you do that. Because you've got to have energy on your big attacker on the bench, but you need to have extra energy on it to prepare for when it's getting knocked off, so you keep doing those attacks. But you still need to keep energy spare for if you get Guzma stored, so you can then retreat. So generally, for most decks,
you presented a lot of problems. I want some solutions.
Generally, take it pretty easy. Go really slow. Get everything set up and try and attach as as late in.
Oh,
So do you play
think
Sylveon or do you play Wishy Washy?
I personally think you play the wishy-washy. I think Sylveon's too easy to one-shot.
Because
We're going back to this one-shot versus two-shot discussion. Yeah, like Sylveon has 200 HP, and you've got the option of
you guys have
dumbbells. But I just think it's just too easy to go if you don't have those dumbbells on. 200's not massive to hit, especially if you're playing Bulu. It's just the normal attack choice band is the 210. On the Kiri if you don't hit it.
On that though, sorry Sam, you go.
The difference between like 200 and 210 is quite minimal at the moment, surely, because if you're talking about Bulu with choice band, that's going to one shot.
Yeah,
Is that Wishy-Washy though?
I mean, for me personally, I'd probably go for the Sylveon if I was playing a stall deck because it can still hit for 110 and take prizes.
Exactly.
It still takes prizes. So I have seen so many people playing the Sylveon stall deck win from taking prizes because they're able to consistently, as well as milling the energy out, constantly poking people for 110, which is...
Yeah. I will just make the point, I thought Wishy-Washy had 230 HP. I've just now looked it up. It's only 210.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. 220.
See, I prefer Sylveon, I think, because you've got control with Magical Ribbon.
Yeah.
And I found Wishy Washy, I run out of cards for me quite easily because I just like playing cards. I can't hold myself back.
Sycamore all this away, I don't need
Exactly, and then I end up with challenge around draw support. So for me, Sylveon works a treat because you've got Magic Ribbon every time. You typically play it with 10 to 12 Fairy Energies and a couple of DCEs, and actually you've always got, like you say, Darren, the attack option if you need to, if you can really stall your opponent.
Oh yeah, I personally, I'm in the same boat as you. I think Sylveon is the better concept, at least, simply due to that Magical Ribbon, just be able to get what you need every turn.
Yeah.
To prepare, if you can see far enough ahead to see what your opponent's going to do in their turn, you can then just prepare for it and go, right, I'm going to need max potion this turn, or I'm going to
Absolutely,
need...
yeah. Or an extra or something.
And just the sheer disruption with Plea GX, you know, if you're playing against something that is setting up behind you, like Alex said, you know, be cautious, set up on the bench, just play it away. It's gone. You know, they've now got to do all of that work again.
Which is delaying them further, playing into the plan of Mill even further.
So it gives you a good chance against Bulu and Volcanion, which are going to be strong decks, because obviously if they're setting up the bench, you can see them setting up the bench, and they've got 2 energies on each of their Volcanions. You're going to play them at that time, get those Volcanions back in hand and set them back. And I guess the same with Bulu. As soon as you see the 1 or 2 Vikavolts in action, you've got to get them back out.
Yeah.
And your chances are you've used your candies, you've used your resources. Now that you're set up, you think, I don't need them anymore. Ultra Ball them away for something else.
Especially against
left.
Especially against Bulu, where a lot of the players are dropping the Charger Bug line completely from 1 to none.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm as someone that played Bulu a lot, I struggle with that, especially when SB on EX is still a thing in the format. Like I say, once those candies have gone, SB on EX, that's game. Yeah, it's just, it seems like a strange thing. I can understand it because it's tight. It's one of those decks that's really tight for space. You're going to put stuff in there, but at the same time, I don't know. Perhaps I saw a Sylveon
list today. I was looking at for one, and they actually had a Ralts and Gardevoir GX in the list.
That came out of the US. It had a 101 line of Guardi. Literally one Ralts, one Guardi.
That's it. One rare candy.
One rare candy, which is a really good idea because you can just Magical Ribbon all 3 to hand.
Absolutely.
and your opponent doesn't know.
It's a good end game. It's a good end game thing. You can start slowly charging a Guardi on the bench whilst you're disrupting them with the Sylveon. It's going to be really hard. I had that in the League Challenge in Lowestoft. It was round 1. And it was Sylveon Mill, and I was chugging along nicely, and all of a sudden they dropped the Ralts down. It was like, oh.
Sorry about that.
Out of nowhere, this Ralts suddenly appeared. We're just talking about the Guardi line that's appearing in some of the Sylveon Mill deck tubs.
Okay, yeah.
I was just explaining that when I was in Lowestoft playing Sylveon, chugging along nicely, and he literally just dropped the Ralts, didn't he? And it's like, okay. I managed to beat him in the end, but it was very, very close. Like game 3, last turn of the 1, 2, 3, like end of time thing. but it was really tricky to just slowly pile the energy onto the Gardevoir on the bench whilst they're disrupting you with Sylveon. It's pretty. It was. I think it's more of a surprise, difficultly because of the surprise element of it. It's quite an interesting tech, which is pretty cool.
What about as a tech? If we're talking techs, playing one Xurkitree in your deck, particularly those that perhaps play Rainbow Energy. What do we think about that?
I like it. I mean, putting an extra prize card out in mill decks, surely that's an advantage in itself.
That's the guy who played Heatmore Raichu back
playing one Xurkitree, yeah.
Yeah, just for that ability, because the case of they can often take 6 prizes, but their 7th is the hard part, which is as weird as it sounds.
Well, it used to be quite a common phrase, didn't it? It used to be quite a common phrase, a 7-prize game. You literally go back to, you're taking like a non-GX or EX prize, I would have been back then, I suppose, and now you're trying to take your big knockouts, you're still taking that amount of prizes anyway. It just adds that extra little bit of, especially if you've got like one prize left, and you've got your Xurkitree left or something, you can add that prize back, pull it back to your hand. They've got to do double the work to do it again.
I guess the only downside is weak to fighting.
Well, it's that ability to stop attacks from Pokemon Special Energy attached to it, though.
Yeah.
Certain decks are all playing strong and DCE probably.
They're only playing, other than Boswell decks, the Pram's deck only plays, 2-3 basic fighting?
2 basic, yeah.
And if you can mill them away, I know they've got puzzles, but once the puzzles are gone, they're gone. It just depends on the deck you're playing against, really, I guess.
So we're saying, you have to be prepared for mill. Is that what we're saying here? It may not be the best deck in format, but you have to be prepared for it.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And I think it's going to be there. It's been doing well in some cups and challenges, and people just want to see the world burn sometimes. So some people will take it. There's just no doubt in my mind. Just like, when we were in Birmingham, how many Sylveon decks did you have to play, Simon? It was 2 or 3.
I played, in 7 rounds I played against 3 Sylveon decks.
We don't discuss Sylveon in Birmingham.
We don't talk about that.
I did not like thinking about that day anymore. I'm having flashbacks. PTSD.
Exactly. I think I had 1 or 2 in Birmingham. That's when Sylveon suddenly sort of appeared, wasn't it, around that sort of time as a full deck?
Yeah, that was like the first
Darren,
time.
yours was more London, wasn't it? You played against 2 quad baby Ninetales.
2 quad baby Ninetales back to back. Yeah, that was great. I was 3-1 or 4-2 playing Boswell Silvally, and the only thing I could attack with was a Type Null and a Rangaroo, and back-to-back quad baby Ninetales kind of finished my weekend.
It's like when I got 3 Metagross in a row at Bremen when I was playing Gardevoir. Yeah, end of tournament. No wonder I've got no CP.
It's just going to show that how good that ability is. Now Gardevoir's dropped in favour, there's not a lot to shut it off, and we don't have Hex anymore.
You have to actually be able to counter it properly by attacking.
Exactly.
So Zoroark Galissapod or Zoroark Lycanroc?
It's a hard one, isn't it?
For me,
they both beat each other.
And the testing that me and Tubbs have been doing, it seems to be whoever sets one up first, whoever sets up the attack that hits the other one for weakness seems to win. I guess Tord's list has the advantage over Pram's list because it's just a single energy attached to start hitting for weakness if the Lycanroc's down.
Yeah.
But if they can't get that set up quick and the Lycanroc set up, then it's going to start knocking those Zoroarks out pretty damn quick as well. So it almost becomes a prize trade on who can get set up the quickest.
Well, he goes first, really.
It's literally trade.
It is literally trade each other to death, yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely 50-50. It's whoever goes first, like you say.
Yeah.
There'll certainly be a lot of both.
Huge again.
In Leipzig, there'll definitely be a lot of both of them, without a shadow of a doubt.
Because all the decks at the moment are either running, we're either running Zoroark or Octility for A, consistency to get it set up, or B, to prevent late game ends. So do we think Garbador's got a place to come back? And
Yeah.
I would love to play
I-
Garbador again, but it's not.
I agree.
consistent.
Garbador's really good right now, but it can't beat Zoroark. Like, Trash Arch does nothing against. Garbatoxin's really good, but Golisopod Garbodor isn't consistent enough. So what do you
Yeah.
pair it with?
The trouble is, Garbatoxin screws up your own consistency.
Exactly.
Deal with it.
Give me a consistent Garbatoxin deck, Alex, and I'll play it in Leipzig.
Would that then therefore be a place for a Lowland Muck to come in? Because it doesn't screw your own consistency if you are playing a stage 1 or 2 deck. It stops your opponents, your basics, so your Lele's, Energy Evolution, Eevee.
It's the Zoroark you want to stop, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. The only sort of even slightly consistent Garb list would probably be Espeon.
Yeah. But then again, it's,
which I think is
because
a really
Zoroark
good
has
shout.
210 HP and Psychic Resistance. There's just no way that you're going to beat it. Unless you do like
not
massive
necessarily.
So it
spread
would be maybe
evolve.
something like a Buzzroll, a Garbodor deck. I'm not necessarily a big fan of myself, but it deals with Zoroark a bit better than any other
In
pair.
theory, it has the best matchups across the board.
Yeah. But
It's
I
that
think
consistent.
in theory, isn't it?
It's the consistent endgame draw. Whenever I try it, I'll get enter 1 or enter 2, and it's just done.
You can't get out of it.
Because I've got Garbatoxin, I've got my field blurs are all gone, or whatever. You can't even blur it off and save your ass that way. It's just.
It's like when I played Silver Valley Garb in Portsmouth. I was in my winning in game. It was game 3. I had my board set up. He had an Espeon GX with 150 damage on it, so I only need to hit it for 50. And he ended me to 1, or ended me to 2, and I just couldn't draw out of it.
Yeah, I had exactly the same problem playing the same deck, didn't I? Just endgame stalls. If you set up, I think it was the Decidueye Zoroark. I just ran straight through it with Silver Valley Garb. Literally ran through.
But if you think about, like, if we had a card like Lucario EX, where it does damage and you draw cards as part of the attack, that'd be the perfect partner for Garb right now.
Yeah, pretty much, I think.
But we don't have it.
So does it go back to Drampa with Big Wheel? But then
the trouble with Drampa. I mean, I've been messing around with Drampa a bit this week, and because it's only 180, it just gets knocked out far too easily.
Solrock, one energy
Anyone playing
attachment.
Buzzroll. He's playing Buzzroll. I think it's strong, choice band, Regiment.
Oh, totally, absolutely. You can one hit it.
You can one hit it with this. I mean, myself and Subs, we put a Solrock in Buzzroll just for the Baby Hooper matchups, and that one hit KO's Drampa with a Stadium choice band and strong energy.
Yeah,
so it's just like
I wouldn't play Drampa Garb at the moment.
No,
and that's why I think ability-based decks will run rife in Leipzig. So
Steeler.
Yeah, absolutely.
Steeler, I think. I mean, the weakness to lightning. Vikavolt obviously comes in there, but the rest of the meta could struggle against a metal deck again.
So what about something like, so you're talking your abilities being very strong. What about something like Greninja? Does that give that a place?
Yeah, it does.
It's always got a place. Once it's set up, it beats anything.
Yeah, the problem is obviously it absolutely cacks on itself, but in terms of if you can build that list, that consistent for you list.
Consistent,
not you.
Consistent Greninja. Is that a sentence that's actually existed before? I don't know.
Well, again, look at that ARG again. That one I mentioned earlier. Wishy-washy was second, third place Greninja.
Yeah, but I bet he was sitting on cards.
Interesting. The Greninja is definitely one that, from a juniors and seniors perspective, Darren. Certainly in the seniors, you see a fair bit of Greninja played.
You do.
Now in juniors in London, we saw a couple of Greninja decks, which were brought over by some Americans. I haven't seen any of the European juniors play Greninja, but it wouldn't surprise me if I start seeing them.
I think when we was down at the League Cup in Bexhill, that Megan won, she played against a Greninja deck. But it just shot itself in the face in both rounds, and she just ran straight through it with Guardi. It just wasn't setting up, and she was just like smacked. She was playing Guardi at the time, and she just ran straight through it.
Yeah.
I think Ryan saw one, but he was playing Buzzsaw Valley, and again, he was just one-shotting it because it's just 2 Regirocks down, and the thing wasn't setting up. Like Tub says, for me, if you set it up, it just wins, but it's getting it set up consistently throughout a tournament. Now, people obviously do it because it does really well, but I just can't go anywhere near it because I know what'll happen if I try it.
So, from a Masters perspective, do you play the Giratina promo?
I think you just take the chance against it. I think if someone's ballsy enough to play it, good on them. And if they're ballsy enough to win and they can make it win, then good on them again.
And I mean, I think if you're playing Bulu, you definitely don't bother. If you're playing Godpod, again, you don't bother because you just auto win the matchups anyway.
Especially now, I mean, if you're playing Bulu, for me, you put the Pheromosa thing in. So you can actually donk it with fast rate.
God, yes.
Yeah, so...
I think if you're playing Volcanion as well, I don't think you bother because you lose the matchup anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it really worth putting it in?
If you're playing like one of the mill decks, I think you kind of got to because they do something that you
yeah.
can't deal with as a mill deck. So you got to play.
Certainly, definitely. I'd definitely play. If I was playing mill, I'd play it, and that's...
It's just another 110 HP tank, isn't it?
Yeah.
I lost to a Greninja on Wishy Washy last night, and interestingly, the guy I was playing against only brought out one Greninja.
What, one Greninja or one
just
break?
shadow stitched you to death.
Seriously, he shadow stitched me to death because I couldn't do any. He had no bench for me to attack or Guzma or mess around with, and he shadow stitched me to death. I couldn't do anything about it,
Yeah.
and it was a really, really good move. So anybody that's playing
Take
Bill,
you, that was close.
No.
no,
Playing against Witchy War with Greninja, just shadow stitched to death.
it did seriously, and that was he played well. To be fair to him, if he's watching, he played really well.
Nice.
Cool. So we're going back to the consistency issue again. So we said about 210 HP. We said about one-shot format. So we're obviously talking about Bulu here. It's a brilliant deck.
It's got me more CP
inconsistent.
it's got me more CP than any other deck this season, and I love it.
Any other what?
What regionals have you
Dick.
been going to?
I go to the side events, the special, the invitation only
Pornhub
side events, the Pornhub side events. Yeah,
The winner rabbits, not winner box.
to put your keys in a bowl and you enter the room.
You sound like you've got far too much experience with that.
But no, I mean, but I've had to stop playing it because it's just, even though I love playing it, when it's really come down to it in that past two regionals where I scored points, I lost my winning in twice, not because of misplays, because it just did what it did and it bricked.
Greninja syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes down to consistency. If you could get that, if I could guarantee a turn 2 Vikavolt every time with I'd be all over that because it's just so much fun to play.
It's not even like it's late game ends that screw this one. It's the start of the game when you can't get Vikavolt out.
Yeah, it's a slow start. I mean,
It's the opposite end of the spectrum.
some of the weird concoctions we've been testing to try and get that Vikavolt going, like triple wallies and double wallies, and it's just like, there's like no ultra balls and all sorts of weird stuff. It's just no. I love it, but I just can't bring myself to play it at a big tournament again. There'll be a load of it in Leipzig though, because if it sets up, it's like I think if it's like Frogs. If it sets up,
it's then going back to people like saying, "Oh, I'm going to play like in Rock Zoroark or Zoroark Galissapod because it's consistent. It draws cards. It does what it needs to do."
Drawing cards isn't necessarily consistent. Shame in the X proved that.
Well, it's more consistent than stuff that doesn't draw cards.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't necessarily mean consistency. Search is what you want, rather than just pure draw.
But people are saying, like, I could gamble and take Bulu and win the whole tournament if I set up properly, or I can take a chance with a 2-shot deck that draws well. That's what it comes down to right now.
I think you just take the sensible play. Something that you're almost guaranteed to draw well. I don't know. If it was me, I would. If I was going, it's sort of a tough one, but I would probably be tempted to play Buzzwell Lycanroc. That would probably be what I would be playing.
It's a good shout.
I do love that deck. Deck, but
the problem is I'd get there with it built on my list and wish I played Bulu. So
it's sit down opposite a load of people taking the Mew EX just for one hit KO.
Yep, and cry.
Humphreys, you played Guardian Bremen a few months back, and you did well with it. How would you rate that going into Leipzig? Because we've seen almost none in cups.
I haven't seen any recently. I haven't played much recently either. I don't know where it sits at the moment. It's in. I don't know. It's in a really odd position. No one's playing meta anymore, which is the big thing that it had issue with. So, surely
Is it consistency now?
But that's the thing, consistency. Do you,
Stage
if you
two,
do
yeah.
it, do you have to play Sylveon maybe to get set up? You have to play Vulpix again. I don't really know where it sits. That's my issue. I think that's going to be a lot of issue people have for the deck as well. Is they don't know where it sits. Don't know if it's worth a risk or not.
It's surprising. It surprisingly won the Loughborough League Cup, didn't it? With some of the best UK players at that cup, and it won through at top 8 and came out tops.
Mm.
You know,
It was interesting because
I guess
Really
the only
good
thing
meta
about
decks
that cup though is it's a best of one league cup, so
yeah, of course, yeah.
you always have to put
that cup was full of
Loughborough one.
Volcanion as well.
Oh, which
But
is
it
a
was
beautiful
fire
match.
everywhere. Yeah,
There's
it's
fire
fire
everywhere.
everywhere.
So again, if we think, I mean, Tapu Bulu is difficult for Gardevoir, obviously because nature's whatever it is, nature's judgment, discard. You've really got to load up. So,
But at the same time, you have to, if you're playing against Gardevoir Bulu, you have to discard if you're hitting a Ralts. You have
to discard regardless.
If you're knocking a 60 HP Ralts out, you've got to discard your energy because otherwise they're just going to rare candy.
they're going to
Playing on both sides.
Yeah, so it's a really difficult matchup because of that. It makes it difficult because you're discarding the energy, but it makes it difficult on the Bulu player because they've got to discard knocking out really low HP Pokemon because you just can't take a chance of leaving Bulu sat there with 3 energies on it.
Yeah,
And that's why Guardy's been doing worse recently, is because, again, it's going back to Zoroark, which can pop those routes and Curlier for 1 DCE really consistently because it's got Lycanroc to pull them up as well. So it's all about the early game aggression. If Guardy can go past that, can it beat the format?
It could probably outlast everything else. I mean, 230 HP, Dark Resistance to help against Zoroark, Max Potions, Ace Rollers. It can probably last.
And Twilight to put them all back.
Yeah, indeed.
Twilight against Mildex as well.
Yeah.
Twilight against Mill is fantastic because it's just like, I'm just going to take all this energy back that you've milled off me and put it straight back in, so I know I'm going to draw into it every single turn.
Yeah, I was reading an article this morning on the Australian meta. I don't know if anybody else saw that. I can't remember which.
I saw the pie chart, and that was pretty much it.
What it was saying is there's about 8 decks that are all in meta that, luck of the draw on its day, depending on how you set up. Anything can beat anything.
Agree.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking as well, like, can Sprite Devolve potentially come back?
I was about to say, can I mention one more deck real quick to go? Actually, feeds into quite often, I think.
Which one, sorry? Which one?
The Sidra Zoroark? Or just the Sidra in general?
Yeah. Interestingly, though, when looking at the Australian results, there wasn't a single Decidueye Zoroark in any of the top 8s. That was the one conspicuous absence.
My issue
because
is
they're
that
scared
is
of
big
Volcanion.
basics.
I was
It
going
was
to
just
say,
big basics in general. You've got the Wishy-Washy Mill, alright, because they don't generally play enough energy to attack with the Decidueye. Because a lot of the decks don't even play the grass.
They play 2 or 3 grass. It's not a lot,
but there's still a very, very low amount to try and get that attacking regularly for, say, the Wishy-Washy. You've then got the big basics like, I say big basics, things like Sylvally Steels is going to struggle with, and then the obvious one is Volk.
But the thing there is Zoroark actually helps with most issues, because he's get that run so quickly. With Choice Band, with all the feathers coming up from Decidueye's setup, which you will get up if you've drawn so many cards.
I guess
You can take so many one-shots, and you'll knock out stuff like Wishy-Washy for just Zoroark.
You've been playing it a lot just recently, right, Simon? Yeah, the Decidueye Zoroark?
Yeah.
Would you take it to Leipzig, knowing there's probably going to be a lot of fire there, though?
I probably would still. I have enough sort of faith in the deck, I suppose, to go ahead and
You'd
play.
take a chance on dodging the fire? I don't know how it plays against Volcanion because I've never really sat down and played Decidueye Zoroark because it's the micromanagement element of it, as you know.
Yeah, indeed.
It's just not me. It's not me.
I'm too dumb to play it.
I don't think it
I didn't
does
want
take
to
a
say
lot.
that about myself, so I just put it down as the micromanagement element. I was just like,
The deck does take a lot of concentration to play well. You do have to think
how does it
so
fare
far
against
ahead.
fire deck? So that's the question. I mean,
Well, I suppose you can play one baby Zoroark, and that cleans up at least one Volk.
Oh yeah, you play that. You play obviously all your Zorak GXs. You'll be playing 3 or 4 of them with all DCs. You can take the one shot thanks to just setting up decision on bench and going Feather's inactive, DC, choice band, Zorak GX take a knockout. And if they don't have multiple Volks set up quickly enough, you might be able to run through them. But it depends on how. It does depend a lot on setup, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that when I played against it with Buzz Lycanroc, is if they set up quickly, then it does tend to win, because if they've got the Zoroark active with a full bench, they've only got a Feather Arrow a couple of times, and then it's 150 with the Zoroark. So they've only got a Feather Arrow twice to knock out a Buzzwole, so they can go down pretty quick. So you're saying it's like very similar to with the Volcanion match. Then you just, if you can get a couple set up with a bench, and you can start hitting the Feather Arrows on them and start taking the knockouts with the Zoroark, then
pretty much.
I guess they've got a 3 energy attach on there as well, haven't they, to actually take the 1-hit KO?
Yeah, they need to put a lot of edge back on field, and then it's just you just need to get a setup so quick, so early on. And thanks to drawing so many cards from Zoroark, you will get Deciduous out as well to help the one shots in those matchups.
Yeah. So, Pike, I want to come over to you because you've been playing Guardy pretty much since it came out because you don't test a lot. It's not your fault, but I know you've said recently you've wanted to change decks, and do you think that's because you want to test more, or is it because you don't have a lot of faith in Guardy, or you think something else better, or what are your thoughts of that?
Guardy it sets up, it'll steamroll anything, but the question is always with Guardy if it sets up, and you're going into a big tournament, you want to get something that's going to consistently run through the motions throughout the day, which is the main reason, because 9 times out of 10, even on a Friday night, 5 rounds, at least 1 or 2 rounds, it'll just brick itself. Going into a 9-round tournament, you're going to brick at least twice. A couple of bad matchups, that puts you straight out of day 2. That's the risk. I think you need something that's going to get you there.
So what would you take instead then if you were going?
Something which is either quad Zoroark.
Really?
Just straight Zoroark, just straight quad Zoroark, like 4-4-1, just one baby and a 4-4 line of GXs.
Probably 3, 1 or 2 babies, because you'll want to switch them around depending on matchup, and then a break. Just foul play is cool. Or Zoroark with something else, or something with Garbodor. But I don't think Garbodor's got a good partner at the moment.
No.
Something with Zoroark, basically. Drawing cards is always good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the trouble, isn't it? You've got to play Zoroark because it's the best card in format, but then what if someone turns around and counters it and then you're out? I don't like playing the top card because everyone's out to get it.
It's got a bullseye on its back, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Like Guardy going into London had a massive bullseye on his back. The amount of metal that was there was just, and it was there for a reason, because everyone was expecting Guardy.
Yeah, but I went first round, saw metal ahead of me. I was like, I'm glad I'm not playing Guardy today.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I was going to say,
cheers for that one.
You very nearly did. Thursday night card switch. Awesome. So you would definitely not play Guardy then, Pike, if you was going to Leipzig.
Fair.
Zoroark. Just straight Zoroark or Zoroark Lycanroc.
What?
Yeah, straight Zoroark's a good shout.
Yeah.
I have seen
Kirkham.
I've seen Luke. Yeah, Kirkham's been playing it a lot.
Kirkham played it, and Seb and Scott both played it in London.
Yeah,
I think there was a few people played quad, just straight quad. A couple of babies, like a 4-4 and a couple of babies, just in case one's closed.
Yeah, and 4 ace rollers, maybe some magic potions in there.
Just picking them up. Yeah,
I've never tested it, so I don't really know what it does.
Because if you look at the way Broken Deck suddenly appeared, and you slightly changed the meta simply by adding in a new tech like max potions, you could do the same with Zoroark.
Yeah, well, Broken Deck was built because the Guardian Mirror was just awful, so they put max potion in to beat the Guardian Mirror. That's basically how that was born.
So on the basis there's going to be so much Zoroark there, you can almost argue that's the mirror. So maybe let's look at that maybe over the next few days and maybe test it.
Broken Zoroark,
yeah.
That's my issue there. If they face into Lycanroc at all, anyone playing Zoroark Lycanroc will just run through you thanks to
we'll just go straight.
Is there any way to get rid of weakness right now?
What
weakness
policy?
Was weakness policy reprinted? It wasn't there a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, still in. Yeah.
Weakness policy was
So you could still effectively two-shot with Zorak.
yeah.
But then you've got
The trouble, the trouble with weakness policy, me and Freddie and Scott and Seb tested that loads. Actually, we all tested it together, if you remember, when you
Field
came
blower.
round mine. And field blower was the problem.
Yeah.
And you put it on, you lose it.
It's I think Buzzwole and Lycanroc will just run straight through a quad Zoroark deck in Leipzig. If anyone's playing Buzz Lycanroc or Buzz anything,
Just play double Baby Mewtwo, it's fine. Go past that, I dare.
What about another one that we've not talked about for a while, Persimmon? Or should I say, Persimmons?
Persimmon.
Persimmons.
You know what? I think that's really favoured right now. I really do.
didn't Scott play in the cup the other week and he regretted doing it?
He did.
Probably.
Persimmon.
Was it Kanak? He took Persimmon to Kanak?
Yeah.
I think he took his latest build, the one that had the counter energy, was it? And the
Right.
I believe that you should be running Fury Belt and Persimmon right now. Because if you're playing Fury Belt and you're against something like Glisspod Zorak, they can't one-shot you.
No, indeed. 150 HP.
but they play a heavy blower line, don't they? Didn't Tord play like 4 field blowers?
I thought
He played 3.
Three.
Did he? I thought he played 4. I'm gonna have to double
He
check
played
that.
3.
I thought he played 4 because he was so scared of Garb, so he just like dropped something for. Let's have a
He
look.
played 3 and then went up to 4, I think.
Did he?
Yeah.
Not in
it's
Persimmon.
next.
No.
No, in the Zoroark pod.
In Zoroark pod, yeah.
But
Just
no,
have
I
a
think
look.
it's really well played.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah.
It's consistent, isn't it? It's just basics. You've got
Yeah.
fighting and psychic weakness, which is really good right now.
Yeah.
Got the right type in at the moment, isn't it?
It's basics, so you can go through Hooper.
He played 4 field blowers in London.
Yeah.
The other thing you've got to watch out for is Xurkitree, because you won't be getting past that.
Yeah, that's the problem. If someone's playing Xurkitree, and some people play it in Bulu or whatever, just as a one-off, they'll just bench that and say,
I think you just take the loss.
Attack around it. You
Yeah.
just
Or
leave
take a
the
load of
problem
muck.
out of the way and you just Guzma around it.
Yeah, so you're
Yeah,
mute.
but if they don't put anything else down, Tom, that's the problem. You simply play your Xurkitree down.
Yeah, Darren.
If it's in the mill deck, for example.
what, me playing quad Xurkitree for the
On
meetings?
Friday night. You scumbag.
Why didn't that work, Darren?
Because I kept coming up against people with playing just loads of basic energies, which is always a problem.
Because Darren misplayed, that's why.
And on the basis that Volcanium and
I misplayed it.
Vikabulu is going to be so big in Leipzig, I don't really see Xurkitree as being a stay quad circuitry anyway.
I'll be perfectly honest, the only reason I played it is because I couldn't score any points on Friday night, so me and Cub
Yeah.
just put something together for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
good show.
Just
Still
to
with
trigger-
Well,
good memes and
The
try-
other thing is,
trigger.
if you take a mill deck to Leipzig, there's a chance you go into another mill deck and you're going to want to kill yourself. You get there, you've travelled all that way, and you
That's
sit
gonna be
down.
the time you wish
you
you'd-
flip a hooper, they flip a hooper, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Here goes my life for the next 60
Like,
minutes.
Excuse me while I take my belt off and hang myself.
I mean, listening to the chat tonight, you guys are convincing me more and more to go towards a Sylveon mill deck with that 101 Gardevoir. I think
Yeah, do you know what? I know
it really just seems to me all of the things that we've talked about. It's going to struggle with Volcanion, but if you can get the Gardevoir in there, maybe to take out certainly one of the Volcanion EXs,
You see, the
possibly
Guardi on the
two.
bench is a threat. The Guardi just sits there and you just slowly putting energy on it and just building it up. And if they can't Guzma it up and knock that thing out, then as an end game card, it's like, oh.
The other thing you've got to remember against Volcanion is you've got Parallel City and Play. So if they've got loads of energy on the board, you just put a Parallel down and you play them up, and they've got to start from scratch again.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I honestly, I'm going to dig out some Sylveons, I think.
Yeah, give it a go, mate.
Don't worry about my wishy-washy. That's confined back to my vaults.
Wishy-washy.
Tried.
Sunday
Wishy-balls.
League Cup memes, is it?
Yeah. Anybody got any Sylveons I can buy?
Unfortunately not.
Borrow. I've got some you can borrow, probably, if you do want
Have you,
to.
bud? Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I've got one, but I could do with two more.
Hang on.
I'll send
I've
them
got,
with
I've got like
gloves on Wednesday, Simon.
Thanks,
That's
Tom.
I've got like 3 you can borrow if you need to.
Yeah, I'd love to. I think, Darren, please. I'll talk to you offline.
Unless we get paired against each other, then I want them all back.
We all scoot for Darren.
I want all my cards back if I have to play
Scoop
against.
for Darren.
Hey, look, I'm always cannon fodder. I scoot for everybody because I've got no CP.
I felt well bad for you in Birmingham. It's just like round 2 was me, and then
shocking.
round 3 was Darren.
Yeah. And you beat me before I even scooped.
Well, at least we beat you when we didn't make you scoop.
Anybody else got any things about the meta right now? Anything else to
No.
put forward? No.
I guess the only thing I Cyrus, the English translation of it.
No, we're not about Leipzig. Don't worry about that right now.
Will
Don't
that
scare
get
me.
Will that get an errata to so it's the Japanese one, or will they change the Japanese one to be the same as ours?
I've heard rumours that they get errata the Japanese version.
I've heard rumours they're errata in the Japanese one, so that suddenly goes straight into Buzz or Lycanroc because you add Plea GX into it. It goes into Sylveon because you've got 2 Plea GXs. It becomes disgusting.
But with Sylvan, it just completely wipes the bench. It's just you just Guzma something really crap up, hope it stays there for a turn, and then just wipe anything decent off their bench.
I don't have a save of a turn. Just Guzman active. Put up a ball pick or whatever else. Floatstone. Put a bench. Cyrus. These
You
clean.
can't Guzma and Cyrus.
Oh, God, a supporter.
Come on, Simon.
Not expand
You
it.
can counter catch.
Oh, it's a new card. It's a brand new card. Come on.
Counter catcher.
Counter catcher.
Pokemon catcher.
Pokemon catcher.
Pokemon catcher. Yes. Lycanroc.
Okay, yeah, okay.
We're
Yeah.
playing Sylveon Lycanroc now, yeah?
That's
Yeah.
what you're
Sylveon Octillery.
that's what you're playing with Sheffield.
Everyone got their Octilleries ready for eBay when they give the Japanese one an errata because that card's going to be worth a fortune. Because every bugger's going to want to play an Octillery line.
Yeah. I've got loads to come hit me up.
Cheeky
Got
little
them all.
plug there.
You got them all already.
Love it. Guys, it's
Anything
been a
else
good
from
night.
anyone?
That's been useful.
Yep, I think we've cracked it. We've cracked the meta.
Yeah. Anybody want to go for
So-
a prediction as to winner and deck that's going to win Leipzig?
If-
I was going to go quickly through what to recap, but yeah.
If he's there, whatever Tord's playing, with Tord piloting it would be my pick for the win, to be perfectly honest with you. If I had to put money on someone, assuming he's there, it'd be...
I'm going to pick me. I'm going to win Leipzig. I'm calling it now.
You're not, because you're going to get beat by me in the semis.
You mean in the hotel?
Making sure you-
In the hotel,
you
beat him
get
with a
that
shoe,
far.
yeah. Beat him with a shoe so you can't even make day 2, yeah. No, if I had to pick anyone, just because he's so damn consistent at the moment, like his decks, it'd be Tord if I had to put money on it. If
We're
he's
talking about decks, not people.
yeah, but whatever he's playing, there's your winner.
Okay, cool. Thanks, mate.
Alec?
I'm going to go for a wild card instead of Volcanion.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. Alex?
Actually, on that though, do you think someone like Tord will bring his London list with him, or would it be something new and spicy?
He's going to break Glisopod.
He's going to play Glisspod.
Yeah.
You think-
He's like number
I
4.
don't know. Do you
in
reckon
Europe
he's
right
going
now.
he's going to come into the tournament with everyone playing what's known as Tord list, and he's just going to play the same thing again? No, I think he's going to come up with something new.
Something that beats his own list.
No, 'cause he is the one that made it. He piloted it for God knows how long.
Yeah,
He's
but-
going to be
yeah, but-
better than everyone else.
Yeah, but now everybody's playing it as if he's got the counter to it. He's just sat there going, I'm just going to run through all of you.
He piloted Ninetales in Birmingham and then never played it since.
That's because Bulu and Zoroark were a thing. Every time I make a deck good, something beats it straight away. That's my trouble.
Fair enough.
Alex, what do you think is going to win?
Either Ho-Oh or Volcanium.
Or
Oh,
both in the same deck?
Shout.
Yeah. Or in the same deck. That could be a thing.
So fire.
Yeah, fire, general, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Gooden?
Go on, Bailey.
Either one of the Simons.
Mr. Smith?
God, it's such a tough call. It's going to be luck of the draw on matchups. It's going to be consistency. the thing that springs to mind with me in the old football analogy, if you can't win the game, don't lose it. It might just be the turn of a mill deck. I'm going to predict Sylvion.
Oh, very good.
Oh.
Humphreys.
I think it's going to be either Zoroark, Lycanroc, or it's going to be Fire of some sort. I don't know which one first.
Do you think Zoroark
Three fire
Lycanroc?
predictions.
You think the Zoroark Lycanroc is a better matchup versus the Gliscopod Zoroark?
Don't know if it's better necessarily, but I think just representation will be played.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably
I think the
more
sheer
like-
number of it being played.
Yeah.
That's fair. Cool, let's wrap this up then.
Guys, love it. It's been emotional.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys. It's been. Really
I
good to
will
see more of this.
see half of you at the airport on Friday.
Yep.
A third of you, because I'm one of the ones on the screen. So
I can math me.
that's why I don't play Decidueye, mate.
Right, thanks,
can't
guys. I'm
math.
signing off.
Thanks. I hope everybody's enjoyed it.
Take care, guys.
Thanks for watching.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.